Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome to a holiday edition of NoDQ&A video right here on NoDQ.com, as well as the YouTube channel and NoDQ&A videos affiliate, RingsideNews.com. Hopefully you'll have a little bit of extra time during your holiday period to watch NoDQ&A video. Got your questions here regarding the world of wrestling. Let's get started today with the first one from Amir, Mr. Panda 316. Hey Aaron, happy holidays. In your opinion, what are the best and worst holiday segments that have happened in WWE? I think my all-time favorite Christmas segment would be when Stone Cold Steve Austin gave the stunner to Santa Claus. He called Santa Claus a piece of trash and beat him up. I thought that was entertaining. Most of the time I think the segments are goofy, and I think that maybe that's just my age. The one in particular that I thought was really lame for multiple reasons was when Alberto Del Rio ran over Santa Claus. That to me was the worst segment because WWE had just turned Del Rio babyface and then they shoot an angle where he runs over Santa Claus. It made no sense, and I guess WWE's mindset was it was a throwaway show, it's not important, but still, it sticks with people. I still remember that to this day, Del Rio running over Santa Claus. It was counterproductive. That's my opinion on it. And in general, I feel the Christmas segments are throwaway segments. I guess when they do the divas wearing the Santa's little helper outfits, that's okay as well. Alright, this one comes from B. Hill. Hey Aaron, what do you think of the hiring of Mauro Ranallo as the new Smackdown announcer? Is this the turnaround WWE needs? Well, I think it depends. If they let him do his thing, I think that he'll be a nice change of pace for WWE and a breath of fresh air. I have enjoyed the stuff he's done on the New Japan Pro Wrestling AXS shows, but I haven't really heard anything else from him. If WWE allows him to call the in-ring action, I think he'll do a really good job. If WWE tries to mold him into the sports entertainment announcer and he's being fed all of his lines, then he's not going to really be much better than your Michael Coles or your Brad Saxtons. So it depends on how much freedom he's given as a play-by-play announcer. If he's given the freedom, it'll be a nice change of pace, like I said, to have somebody fresh in the SmackDown commentary booth. And hopefully, it's nice to just change things up in general, and getting new announcers into the mix is a big positive in my opinion, if the announcers are actually able to do what they do well. Alright, this one comes from Andrew. When Baron Corbin comes up, do you think he'd be better as a singles competitor to start or any tag team, and with who? Please answer in video, thanks. He's been doing a singles run in NXT. I think because of that, he would be best off as a singles competitor. Putting him in a tag environment, I'm not sure who you would team him up against. I mean, maybe him and Joe could be a heel tag team in WWE on the main roster. That's a possibility. It is nice to have people called up to the main roster, but at the same time, you do not want to bring them up when you really have nothing for them. And WWE has brought up a lot of singles competitors from NXT. Not that much in the way of tag teams. I mean, really, you think about the Lucha Dragons and the Ascension, and we've seen how far the Ascension has gone. So maybe WWE would feel if they aren't going to push Corbin on his own as a singles competitor, maybe in that case he would be better off as part of a tag team. And maybe him and Joe could come in as a heel tag team at some point if the New Day goes babyface, or if the Usos win the tag team titles back. WWE could build up a feud between Corbin and Joe against the Usos or something like that. It just depends. I mean, if they have something for Corbin as a singles competitor, I think it would be best for him to come up as a singles competitor, since that's what he's been doing in NXT as of late. Alright, this one comes from Jorge Cota. How will you book the perfect John Cena heel turn? Well, I think it's already too late to book the perfect Cena heel turn. I think they had a great opportunity back in 2012 when they were doing the whole rise above hate thing, and Kane was trying to get Cena to go to the dark side. And that was really the beginning, and then at WrestleMania, Cena could have lost to The Rock. He could have lost again to Brock Lesnar and just go on this losing streak and finally snap. I mean, I think you need to have a good explanation for John Cena to suddenly do a complete 180 from what he's been doing the past 10 years. It's been proven that he's not fazed by the fans. He's even gone out on live television and said, nothing is going to change my beliefs and how I feel. So you really need something strong, and I felt that maybe if Cena had gone on a huge losing streak, he would lose confidence in himself, and then finally he would just have enough and just completely go mad. As Norman Bates once said, we all go a little mad sometimes. And even John Cena. He's portrayed as the Superman who doesn't have any kind of weakness. But it would take a lot. It would really take a lot to believe that the John Cena character would suddenly make a huge change when he hasn't been fazed by the fans booing him for years and hasn't been fazed by losses. He basically comes out and laughs off most of his losses. So it's really difficult, I think, to stage a perfect John Cena heel turn. And I'm not sure how it would be done and how it would be done effectively to the point where people would really take him seriously as a heel. I mean, if he turns heel, the big concern is fans are just going to cheer him anyways, and he's just going to be a babyface in the eyes of the people that have been booing him all this time. All right, this one comes from Andrew McManus. Who do you think is going to be the NXT wrestler bumped up to the main roster in 2016? Well, I mentioned Baron Corbin earlier. He's definitely a possibility. I think the number one guy that probably will be called up in 2016 is Finn Balor. I think it's really time. It's been time. I'm actually surprised he kept the title at the NXT pay-per-view, but he could keep it until WrestleMania weekend, lose it at that point, and then debut after WrestleMania. I don't see the next big call-up happening until after WrestleMania, since that's usually when WWE introduces new characters, is after WrestleMania. Finn Balor, I definitely see. Baron Corbin is another guy who could possibly be called up. I want to see Samoa Joe on the main roster, but who knows if that's going to happen. WWE might just be keeping him as a NXT guy to help work with some of the younger talent, but he's definitely ready. Joe should get a shot on the main roster, absolutely, in 2016, in my opinion. Don't know if it's going to happen, though, but I think there's a very good chance we'll see Finn Balor debut on the main roster sooner than later. All right, this next one comes from D. Allen11. With Rollins versus Cena at Night of Champions not considered for Match of the Year, does it show fans only care about matches with false finishes? I think fans do care a lot about false finishes. I think the problem in WWE is that too many matches in 2015 had false finishes. People are relying on it too much to make a match memorable, and it's getting to the point where it's overkill and it doesn't really mean much anymore. When every single match has tons of near falls, it loses its value. Same thing as a guy going through a table every single week or somebody bleeding every single week. You got to do things in moderation. Steamboat versus Savage had tons of near falls, but there were no other matches like that, and that's why people remember that match so well. With some of the matches in 2015, Undertaker and Lesnar, Hell in the Cell, that match did not have a ton of near falls. It had a good amount, but not as much as some of the John Cena matches in the U.S. Open challenges. Cena versus Lesnar versus Rollins was a triple threat, and they did a lot of stuff in that match as well. I just think it's getting to the point where they're doing it too often in too many matches. It used to be where they would save the false finishes for a WrestleMania main event. Now they're trying to do it every single month, and now they're even doing it on Raw. You have Raw matches every week with tons of near falls, and the crowd's chanting, "This is awesome," of course, but they're doing it every single week, and it's getting watered down, in my opinion. All right, this one comes from Vishal. With John Cena returning and feuding with Alberto Del Rio, do you think it is the start of burial for the League of Nations? Please answer in video. I hate to tell you this, but the League of Nations never really got to the point of where they can be buried. They've never really got off the ground floor as a faction. I mean, you look at this past week on Raw. They beat up guys like Jack Swagger and Neville, and nobody really cared. And then at the end, Roman Reigns took them all out. So if Roman Reigns could beat up the League of Nations, John Cena, he's going to have it very easy. I mean, it's very hard for me to take any of the League of Nations guys seriously. And I would be shocked if Cena doesn't beat Del Rio. Or at the very least, you have the League of Nations interfere for a DQ and then Cena beats them all up and that's the end of it. Or Roman Reigns and John Cena team up and just take out the League of Nations. I mean, the League of Nations, they have been portrayed so poorly as a heel faction. It's come off as desperation by WWE to try and have a dominant heel faction, and it just hasn't worked. So I wouldn't go as far to say that they're going to be buried when Cena returns. I mean, clearly Cena's going to be the guy, or the second guy next to Roman Reigns. He's going to continue to be the top guy that's pushed. And unfortunately, there's just no strong heels in WWE right now. And I would not have the League of Nations go over Cena. I mean, Cena has been gone for a while. He needs to come back and look strong. And I know some people are not going to like that. But to me, the League of Nations have never really been credible from the get-go. And I don't really feel there's much that can be done at this point, unfortunately. All right, this one comes from Ricky Lawson. In your opinion, what was the worst WCW storyline of all time? My choice is Booker T and Big T feuding over the letter T. That was certainly one of the stupidest WCW storylines in history, but you're asking me to pick a worst WCW storyline, and that's virtually impossible because there's so many bad ones. I would have to pick a couple that did a lot of damage to the WCW brand. In fact, the most damage to the WCW brand. And there were a lot that did damage. To me, the finger poke of doom is an obvious choice. I mean, many would point to that segment as the beginning of the end of WCW. And that was certainly one of those segments that really damaged WCW as a brand. David Arquette winning the WCW title. I give Russo credit for trying to do something shocking that would get people talking, but unfortunately what it accomplished was it made the WCW title meaningless. The fact that some random actor can just show up and win the title out of nowhere, it just really devalued the WCW world title. And then perhaps the worst segment that Vince Russo ever produced in WCW was the New Blood Rising pay-per-view and the main event, or the semi-main event I believe it was, the number one contenders match, Goldberg versus Kevin Nash versus Scott Steiner. Basically having Goldberg come out there and break character, refusing to take the jackknife powerbomb and going into business for himself, and WCW just going too far trying to blur the lines between reality and storyline. And really the worst thing about it was basically telling all the fans watching at home that wrestling's fake. I mean, when do you ever watch a movie and all of a sudden the characters stop what they're doing and say, hey, this is not real life, this is just a movie? I mean, sometimes it's done in a comedy for a joke, but when you're trying to watch a serious drama and then somebody just says, oh, we're in a movie, you know, it kills the movie. So, you know, it was really damning for WCW when that happened, just basically saying everything you're watching is fake. You know, people want to suspend disbelief when they're watching wrestling. They want to believe that what they're watching is real. And that's usually when wrestling is at its best, when you can suspend disbelief. And WCW just really dropped the ball in that segment. So there were a lot of them. There were a lot for sure. Alright, that'll wrap it up for this holiday edition of NoDQ&A video. Thanks as always for watching. Please keep spreading the word about NoDQ&A video. Tell a friend on Facebook, Twitter, any social media site you go on. Make sure you continue to vote in the 2015 NoDQ.com year-end awards. There's still a few days left to vote. The final results will be announced on January 1st. Make sure you check out the other videos. Talk Wrestling with Jeff Meacham, The Scoop with Noah Donish. And I will see you guys next time for another edition of NoDQ&A video.